Hello and welcome to the shop. Today I'm going to be turning the Woodstock Blank. Now I got this blank from Creations. It's a beautiful blank. It's got the psychedelic colors, very reminiscent of the 60s, and something very special. Right there in the center of the guitar is a little piece of wood from the Woodstock stage. I've got this trading card here that tells the story, and I'm going to read it to you right now. Your handcrafted pin contains a small piece of the stage used at the Woodstock Festival in 1969. The stage was only 8,000 square feet, not overly large by outdoor concert or festival standards. It took several weeks for local craftsmen to construct, but on those 8,000 square feet proudly stood rock royalty, and now it serves as a glorious, lasting symbol of an entire generation. It was the stage that brought out the opening guitar chords of Richie Havens. It was the stage that bore the incredible Who set, complete with several Daltrey mic throws, a multitude of Townsend windmills and jumps, a wild Keith and a stoic Ox. It was the stage that gathered 10 years after Sly, the Airplane, The Dead, Creedence, and a soggy Santana, who brought the crowd to a frenzy with a soulful sacrifice, with soul sacrifice. Janis stood on the stage. It breathed life into folkies like Joan Baez, Tim Hardin, Bert Summers, and Melanie. So many of the artists, stagehands, landowners, activists, and others who were center stage or in the wings are gone now, but the music from August 1969 always lives on. The memories of the concert live in each of us, and the stage. That incredible stage, which was built by hand and lasted through downpours and thunderous performances, lives on. It was built in 23 days under the supervision of legendary lighting designer and Woodstock Master of Ceremonies, Chip Monarch. It measured 80 feet by 100 feet and took 3 weeks to dismantle. The wood embedded in your blank was purchased at peacestage.com. There's your certificate of authenticity. You've got your little C of A numbered certificate piece right there. It's absolutely beautiful. This comes with the blank. And I'm going to make this to one of my favorite kits, an Elegant Monarch. And I got this Elegant Monarch from Classic Nib, and I really like it. Take a look at that Monarch kit. It's got the psychedelic colors in it, so this is going to be a really nice complement to this pin. So let me get over to the lathe, and let's get turning. I've got the blank mounted on the lathe, and I just wanted to show it to you so you get a little better look at it. Isn't that beautiful? There's a nice little chunk of wood right there. You're going to see a little glare here. I apologize for that as I turn it, but that's just the light reflecting off the blank. I thought maybe you could see it better when it was mounted on the lathe than when I was holding it in the video. All right, let's get this blank turned and see just how amazing it looks on that Monarch kit. I have just a little bit of a lip on this back end. Feels great on the front end. I'm going to take one more little pass just to kind of clean that up, and I think this blank will be ready to start getting sanded. Well, all of you just saw what happened. I was turning this blank. I got it all the way down where it was almost finished. I decided to take a finishing cut. I actually got a catch on the bushing as I came off the end of the blank. I like to ride off the end of the blank onto my bushings because bushings are cheap, and I just as soon tear a bushing up and throw it away. This time, however, I got a catch, and anytime you get a catch, it always throws you back the opposite direction. I took the first 1/2 inch of the blank out, and you can see I really boogered it up. Had it not been for taking away the color of the label, I probably could have recast this in Alumilite and returned the blank. Now Michelle over Drop Anchor Creations she was watching my update channel and saw that I did this, and before I could contact her and request to buy another blank, look what Michelle did. She sent me one. This is absolutely amazing. I just finished turning it down to the same point. I went ahead and did my finishing cut. This is exactly perfect on the bushings. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to the lathe and I'm going to pick up where I left off with this blank. I would have been to the point where I was sanding and polishing. That's where we're going to pick up on this blank. So I really just wanted to, in the essence of full disclosure, let you guys know what happened, because I just didn't feel right blowing this blank up and then just saying, you know what, just erase that footage and just pick up with this one. They'll never know. I didn't want to do that because I try to keep it real here. You guys seem to appreciate that, and I hope that you continue to appreciate that. So let's get back over to the lathe and let me finish sanding and polishing this blank, because I think it is going to make an incredible pen when we're finished. When it comes to acrylic blanks, I used to never sand them with sandpaper. I was always super scared about the scratches that I would put into them. I would go straight to the micro mesh. I had a blank the other day that I needed to sand, and it had a misshapen area to it, and after sanding it, I noticed that I actually got a better finish on the blank using sandpaper and running through the grits from 120 down to 600, then hitting it with the micro mesh. So since then, I've been going ahead and using sandpaper on every blank, and you can just feel the difference. When you turn an acrylic blank, run your fingers down the blank with the lathe spinning. Right now I'm about 1140 RPMs. Just run your fingers down the blank and you'll feel the imperfections. Run a little 120 grit over it and feel the difference. It totally cleans up the blank. Any tool marks are taken out. As you're sanding, you'll see shiny areas. Those are areas where you need to work the paper because you've got a concave area you need to work out. I go ahead and run through the 100 grit, and then the rest of the grits I just use to remove the scratches. Just like on a wood blank, I go ahead and I stop the lathe, and then I take my sandpaper and I very lightly, I don't put any pressure, but I very lightly sand back and forth, because what I want to do, the 120 is going to put some pretty deep gouges in your blank, and I want to remove those before I go to the next grit of sandpaper, because if you don't, you're just going to continue to cut those gouges into the blank, and it's going to show in the final product. So just real lightly, you don't want to put a lot of pressure, back and forth, and I'm looking at the end of the blank now, and I'm watching for any imperfections. That looks really good. Now I'm going to look at the other end of the blank, and I'm just basically making sure any centrifugal scratches have been removed from this blank. I'm going to wipe it with my finger a little bit. There's some right in the middle there. Just a light sanding. You do not have to use any. If you use pressure, you're going to take away too much of the resin. There's one right there. And just continue to wipe with your fingers and get the dust off of that blank, and then lightly hit those areas, and it looks really good now. So at this point, I have a great fit at my bushings. I've got an incredibly smooth surface, and I'm ready to go to the 220 grit. Just going to pick up where I left off, and I'm not putting really any pressure under this sandpaper at all. I just have enough pressure to hold it against the blank. I am running at about 1140 RPMs. I like to be right around 1100 to 1150. That's just a really good speed that, from past experience, I found that works real well for me. And it doesn't take long, just a little bit of sanding. And now we're ready, and I really should have my dust collector on for this. So what I'm going to do is I'll do a little back and forth sanding here, and then I'm going to shut the camera off and get the dust collector on, because I really don't want to be breathing this dust. And it does a real good job of taking, while it doesn't pick a lot of the chips up, it does a really good job of cleaning up the dust. And you'll see it just fold right back into the collector. So I'm going to go ahead and finish getting the centrifugal scratches out, and then we're going to put the dust collector on and get back to work. I want to show you the blank. Let me make sure it's good and wiped off. There's no dust on it. You can see it looks pretty good. It's hazy, but it looks really good. I've got all of the centrifugal scratches out of it, and I'm ready now to begin micro meshing. I want to show you what a difference it makes. Like I said, I was scared to sand because I was always worried about scratches. But as long as you don't get too aggressive with the sanding, it takes the scratches out really well, and the micro mesh will do a great job of cleaning up the blank. And you're not going to believe how amazing it's going to look when I get done with this first pad. I do work the first pad a little bit longer. Usually I work the first pad and the last pad the longest. And the rest of the pads, you know, through the middle pads, I just kind of work them for just, you know, just a few minutes. I don't work them as long as I work this pad. Let me just wipe that off. Whoops. Now, I want you to take a look at that blank. Look at the difference already. You can see all of the detail, and we've only run the first pad. I want you to take a look at that blank. Is that not incredible? I haven't put the wax on it yet. Look at it shine. The micromesh does such a nice job. I'm going to smash it on there because it just kept coming out in chunks, and I didn't want to have it throw all over the place because it's not going on the blank that way. Let's talk a little bit about turning. Whenever I turn a blank, I don't care what it is. It could be bone, it could be plastic, it could be wood. I turn wide open. I crank the lathe all the way up. And for me, that's somewhere between 3,000 and 3,200 RPMs, depending on how the lathe is running. When I sand, I generally will sand an acrylic blank at about 1,100 RPMs. Wood blanks, I tend to drop down somewhere between 500 and 700 RPMs. When it comes to polishing with micromesh, I like to be up around 1,100. And then right now I'm still at 1,100 RPMs. I just got done polishing, so I haven't turned the lathe down. I'm applying the Renaissance. When we're done with the wax and the blank starts to become a little tacky, you'll feel it. That's when I'll put my buffing wheels on, and I'll go ahead and buff at about 1,100. So those are the speeds that I personally, over the years, you know, I've done a lot of pins, turned a lot of blanks, and those are the speeds that are comfortable for me in my shop. You may, if you're new to this, you may start out there and you may decide as you sand, maybe you're taking too much off of a blank. Slow down. Maybe it's burning. Slow down. Maybe you're just not taking enough off at one time. Then you can speed up a little bit. All of these things are just starting points. It's not a tried and true, this is the only way to do it. Take a look at that. Let's head over to the assembly table. I am so excited that I finally made it to the point of assembly. This is going to be super straightforward. It's just a Monarch kit. I got it from Classic Nib, and you've seen me do them 100 times. On these blanks, let me bring this up to the camera. Anytime you have a label cast blank, you're going to have a line, the seam in the label. I always put the clip on where it hides that. I've got my bushing on here to protect the bottom of the blank, and let's press this cap into place. Once the pin is in the press, we'll back the press off a little bit here. I'll go ahead and drop one of my clips. I'm going to double check my alignment with the seam, and I'm going to start pressing. Well, I may have to drop another clip. Just don't have enough play there. Just keep a close eye. Whoa! Keep a close eye on this. There we go. I'm pressing it right into place. Beautiful. Get that bushing out of there. Let me show you what it looks like. Take a look at that. I love this kit with this rainbow effect. That is so awesome. To finish her off, I'm looking at the spring. I don't see a larger end. It looks like the same on both ends. Always look at the spring and put the smaller end, if there is one, onto the refill. Always remove your little rubber cap from your refill. Otherwise, you're going to have trouble writing with the pen. We simply slide that right into the nib. Got our transmission, and I'm going to thread it on. Make sure it cranks down good and tight, and I'm going to crank the second piece, the brass piece, make sure that's tight. I like to work it a couple times, get that grease in there working. We're going to press this together. Let me see if I can get the light around here and give you guys a better look at this pen. Now take a look at that. Is that not cool? I love it with the psychedelic blank. It's absolutely beautiful. And this is the 50th anniversary of Woodstock, so that makes this even that much more cool. And look right there, that little piece of the stage. Such an awesome blank. I'd really like to thank you all for joining me for the turning of this pen. I absolutely am pleased as I could be with it. You know, it was a bit nerve-wracking when I blew the first one up, but it all came together. The kit is incredible. I love this psychedelic kit. It really sets the blank off. And this being the 50th anniversary of Woodstock, I'm debating whether I'm going to keep this one or not. This may become my daily carry for a while. I really like it. And don't forget, I've also got the card here that explains the blank, tells a little bit about Woodstock, and explains where the wood from the stage came from. So that's really cool as well. I would like to thank you for joining me in the shop tonight. I want you to know that you are always welcome in my shop. There will be links in the comments below for all of the vendors who I use to make this pin. So if you're interested in a Woodstock blank or one of these kits, you'll know where to get them. You guys have a great evening, and I will see you again very, very soon.